Hi everyone, in this lesson we will study about chapter 5 supply contracts. For more detailed information you can read the chapter 4 in Cynthia Levi book. After studying these lessons, I expect that you guys can differentiate types of supply contracts, when we should use which supply contracts, and what are the advantages and limitations of each supply contract. And to achieve the learning expectation, we will go through 5 main contents. The first one is introduction. The second one is the types of supply contracts for strategic components. The third part is the contracts for MTS, make to stock, MTO, make to order supply chains. The next content is the contracts with asymmetric information. And the final one is the types of supply contract for non-strategic components. And as we know, in this society, when globalization increase, a significant increase in the level of outsourcing, because of many reasons. We want to outsource because they want cheaper labor costs, for example. That's why the procurement function become more critical. And when we make the procurement, when we buy the material or products overseas or from other company, we can divide those products or those material into two main group. That the first one is strategic components or products, and the second one is non-strategic component. What is strategic component? That is those components or the products that the supplier has more powerful. The suppliers are more powerful than the buyer, and it's not really easy to find those components. So that's why we need to have close relationships with the suppliers, so that we can make sure the company always have enough materials and products to satisfy their customer demand. So that's why an effective supply contract is really important for the strategic components. For non-strategic components, we can purchase from a variety suppliers, and also we can change, like switch from this supplier to another supplier. So that's why for non-strategic components, the flexibility to the market condition is more important than a strong relationship with supplier. And since we need for strategic components or non-strategic components, supply contract is a main point for us to maintain, to adjust the relationship with the suppliers, and to ensure ensure adequate supply and demand for products, a supply contract is recommended. And in a typical supply contract, what they will write, what are what terms they will try to agree between the buyer and the supplier. First one is the price and the volume discount. The second one is minimize or maximize purchase quantity. The third one is the delivery lead times. The fourth one is product or material quality. So we care about quantity and quality, delivery lead time, price and discount, and product return policies. So that's why today we will learn more detail what kind of supply contract we can use and why should we use those supply contract, how important it is. So to have more detailed look at the supply contract, let's look at this example. We consider two-stage supply chain that has supplier and buyer. So this is two-stage supply chain. And what the buyer do? The buyer first, here you can think of it like a retailer. So first they will generate the forecast, and then based on the forecasted demand, they will determine the order quantity, right? And after they determine the order quantity, they will make an order to supplier. And their objective is to optimize the profits of its own of itself, and the supplier will react to this order. So based on the order from the buyer, the retailer, the supplier will determine the quantity they should produce, for example. And let's look at this example. I have manufacturer that produce the swimming suit, and they sell to the retailer with the wholesale price $80, and the retailer sell the swimming suit to the end user customer with the price $125. And after the summer seasons, the unsold swimming suit, they can sell to their discount store with the price $20. So this one is the salvage value of the unsold swimming suit, that is $20. And we know that the fixed cost of manufacturer is $100,000, and the variable cost per unit is $35 for manufacturer. So knowing that the forecasted demand is in this table, and the order quantity is the multiples of 1,000 units, now how can we determine the order quantity for the retailer? This one is similar to the example, to the test you did last time, right, in chapter 4, about determine the order quantity. So please spend some time to solve this problem or determine the order quantity. You already did it before, so I will just give you a quick solution about this example. So we can see that the selling price we are in retailer perspective, and the selling price is $120, and we buy it at the price 80. So the retailer marginal profit is equal to 45, right? It's equal to 120 minus 80, and it's equal to 45. That is for retailer. How about for manufacturer? They sell at the price 80, but the variable cost is 35, right? So they also earn $45 per unit. This one is exclude their fixed cost. We don't consider fixed cost here. And the retailer marginal loss is when they cannot sell their products, so the unsold product will be sold to their discount store at the price 20, and the retailer buy one swimming suit at the price $80, but they only can sell at $20, so they will lose 80 minus 20, that is equal to 60, right? So here you can see that if retailer buy more, they will lose more because they only gain $45, but they lost $60 for one unsold product. So they tend to order less than their demand, right? Because their loss is larger than the profit, marginal profit. Okay, so now I will show you how to calculate this. So let's say I will have the order quantity is run from 5,000 to 16,000, and I try to see which one will give the retailer the highest profit, because it's multiple of 1,000, right? So it has to divide by 1,000. So here this one you already did it before, so it will be easy. We don't care about this. So we can see that how to calculate their profit here. From here to here is the profit of the retailer. So when the retailer order 5,000, but the real demand, here is the demand, the demand is 8,000. It means they will lack of products to sell to the customer. So the profit they gain will be equal to 5,000 multiplied by marginal profit, that is 45, right? And it's equal to 225,000. But in case that they have extra, for example 10,000, they order 10,000, but the demand is only 8,000, so they have 2,000 unsold. So what they will get, the profit they will get will equal to 8,000 because they sell the demand 8,000 multiplied by 45 and 4,000 sorry, this 10 2,000 multiplied by the loss is 60. The loss is 60, right? The loss is 60. So we will have 240,000. Okay, so here I input the function if the order quantity is less than the real demand, the profit will equal to the order quantity multiplied by the profit, the marginal profit, and divide by 1,000. This one you don't need to care because I just want to simplify it by reduce by divide by 1,000. If it's wrong, if the order quantity is larger than the real demand, then the profit will equal to the demand multiplied by the marginal profit and minus the service value, right? The margin loss, and margin loss is 60, and here the order quantity minus the real demand. So we will have the function profit, the profit function of the retailer. Okay. So on and so forth, you can calculate all the profit of each case. Then after that you can calculate the average. That is, because we have the demand of 8,000, we'll have probability is 11%. So we will take this profit multiplied by the probability plus this one multiplied by this probability. Okay, so we will have the average function, the average profit of each case. Okay, so here is the, if you don't you cannot catch up, please listen to the video again and try to do it by yourself. You only can understand it when you try to do it by yourself. Okay, so try to create an Excel so that calculate by yourself. And if you still cannot understand, you can ask me. And after you calculate the average profit of retailer, in all cases you can see if they order 12,000, they can get the highest profit, that is 470,700 with the price with the quantity is 12. Okay, so here the retailer optimal policy is order 12, and look at this graph. This point will create the highest average profit. And when the retailer order 12,000, we can calculate the manufacturer profit is equal to 12,000 multiplied by the marginal profit of manufacturer minus the fixed cost. So we can calculate the manufacturer's profit is $440,000, and we can calculate the total profit of the supply chain of the two-stage supply chain here of supplier and buyer is equal to 910,700 is equal to profit of retailer plus the profit of manufacturer. So why I have to calculate this? We will compare with when we use the supply contract. This one is when we don't use the supply contract, and retailer can earn those profit, and the manufacturer and the total profit. Okay, so let's go back with this. Earlier we say that the retailer marginal profit is less than the retailer marginal loss, right? So the retailer tends to order less than the demand. So from that example, can you tell me what is the risk of buyers and what is the risk of supplier? Try to think a little bit. What is the risk of the buyer and what is the risk of supplier? Through the example we just mentioned. So if the buyer order more, the loss, the marginal loss is larger than the marginal profit, right? So that's why the buyer will try to limit the orders. Okay, because if they order more, they have extra products they have to pay for. Marginal loss is much higher than the profit, 60 and 45. That's why they try to limit the orders. How about the supplier? What is their risk? They do not have any risk, right? Because the more order they get, the more profit they have. So they want buyer order as much as possible, right? So the buyer try to limit the order quantity, but the seller want the buyer to order as much as possible. So when the buyer limit order quantity, is it good? Is it a good option for them to limit the order quantity? No, right? Because if they limit order quantity, it means the probability of out of stock will increase. So they have less inventory, the probability of out of stock will increase. And when it increases, they might lose their customer. The customer might go to their competitor. And also they will decrease their revenue, right? So that's why they is where the supply contract with risk sharing between buyer and supplier appear. So they create the supply contract between buyers and supplier where the supplier can share the risk with the buyer so that they can increase the profit for both buyer and supplier. So the buyer can order more and the supplier can get what they want. They can have more orders. That's why the first supply contract is buyback contracts. So for buyback contracts, the seller agree to buy back the unsold products from the buyer for some agreed upon price higher than the salvage value. So earlier in this example, the salvage value for unsold product is $20. So now if they sign the buyback contract, it means the seller will buy back those unsold products with higher price that is higher than $20. So when they sign this contract, the buyer will have more incentive to order more products. And when they order more products, what they get, they will decrease the probability of out of stock, and they somehow increase their profit. And also the seller can increase their profit since the number of order quantity increase. So we see that both buyer and seller get benefit when they sign the buyback contracts. But let's see in example earlier. So all the information is the same as the first example we just mentioned earlier, but the difference is between the supplier and the retailer. They sign the buyback contract that the manufacturer will buy all the unsold products with the price $55. Okay, so using the same logic as the first example, we can calculate the profit of retailer and manufacturer, and we can calculate the retailer marginal profit is equal to 125 minus 80 is equal to 45, and the manufacturer marginal profit is also equal to 80 minus 35, that is equal to 45. And the retailer marginal loss, they buy at the price 80 and they sell back to manufacturer at the price 55, so they lost $25. So here we can see the marginal loss of retailer is less than the retailer marginal profit, right? So that's why they have incentive to order more. How about manufacturer? What is manufacturer marginal loss? Is equal to, they buy back $55, but they can only sell at $20. So marginal loss of manufacturer is $35. Okay, so now we go to calculate and see what is the profit of retailer and manufacturer when they sign the buyback contract. So here the same, we can calculate this one is the forecasted demand. Okay, we use it for all the example in this lesson, that the demand 8,000 have the probability is 11%, 10,000 also 11%, 12,000 is 28%. Okay, so this table we always use it for all the example from beginning until the end of the lesson. So here we calculate the profit for retailer, and the order quantity run from 5,000 to 16,000 like the first example. And here we try to calculate the profit of retailer. So how to calculate the profit of retailer? If the order quantity is less than the demand, let's take this case. Okay, this case, then what they have is 5,000 multiplied by the marginal profit, right? 45. But if it's 10,000, what happened? It's actually the same as the first example, but the salvage now replaced by the buyback, and it's 55, right? And this is for the first case. For the second case, what we can sell is 8,000, right? And we can get profit of 45 per unit, and minus the marginal loss of 2,000. They have 2,000 extra, that 10,000 minus 8,000, right? Multiply by how much they buy 80, but they can sell as the price 55, so they lost 25, right? 25. So here I just write 25, and we can have the profit of retailer is equal to 310,000. And here let me show you the function for this one. So also I use if the order quantity is less than the real demand, the profit the retailer gain is equal to the order quantity here multiplied by the marginal profit divided by 1,000. 1,000 you can divide by 1,000, or you don't need, because I just want to reduce €3. And if the order quantity is larger than the real demand, the profit of retailer will equal to the number they can sell, that is the real demand multiplied by marginal profit, and minus the loss, and the loss is equal to the extra products, right? That is the order quantity minus the real demand and multiply by marginal loss, and we can calculate the profit of retailer in the case order quantity is larger than the demand. Okay, so same, we use this probability to calculate the average profit of retailer, and we can see the order quantity give the highest profit of retailer is 14,000, and they can gain profit is $513,800. That is the profit of the retailer. How about manufacturer? So let's see how to calculate the profit of manufacturer. So the same, I use the if function. let me, when the order quantity less than the demand, then the profit of manufacturer will equal to the demand multiplied by marginal profit, that is 45, right, minus the fixed cost. Okay, if the order quantity is larger than the demand, it means they have extra products and the manufacturer has to buy back. So the profit of manufacturer will become Q multiplied by 45 minus this one is marginal profit, so now we have to minus the loss, that is equal to Q minus D multiplied by the loss, that is they sell 55 but they buy 55 but they only can sell 20, the real salvage. This is the buyback price, and minus the fixed cost. So we have this function, and in Excel we combine it in if. So let me show you this function. So if the order quantity is less than the real demand, we have this, right? The order quantity multiplied by marginal profit of manufacturer and minus the fixed cost. And if the order quantity is larger than the order than the demand, then they will equal to the profit, the order quantity multiplied by the marginal profit minus fixed cost and minus the loss. The loss will equal to the extra product, that is equal to the order quantity minus the real demand and multiplied by marginal loss, that is 35. Okay, that is quite easy. So we can see that at 14, order quantity is 14, the profit manufacturer can get is 471,900. Okay, here let's go back here. So we can see here, and we can see this graph, and this point is the point that help the retailer gain the highest profit. And we can see when they sign the buyback contracts, the profit retailer gain is $513,800 $513,800, and the manufacturer's profit increased to 471,900. Compared to the last one is compared to when they don't sign their buyback contract, 470,700. So when they don't sign the buyback contract, the retailer has the profit is 470,700, and it's increased to this. And for manufacturer, we also can see that the profit increase, and the total profit we can calculate is equal to 985,700, and it's also increased compared to when they don't combine the buyback. Okay. However, the buyback contracts also have some limitations. When the supplier sign the buyback contracts, they need to buy the unsold products, right? So it means they need to have an effective reverse logistics system, and it means that increase its logistic cost, increase the supplier logistics cost. And when the retailers sell the competing products, they will tend to push the products which are not under buyback contract, because if compared to product with buyback contract and not with buyback contract, the not under buyback contract have higher risk, so they tend to push to sell it out first. So that is another limitation of buyback contract. So our buyback contracts are usually used in the book and magazine industry, where the retailers do not have an influence on diverting demand from one product to another. And the unsold magazine will be destroyed by the retailer, and the retailer just need to keep the cover of the magazine and send it to the supplier. Okay. And the second one of the reasons for the buyer to order limited number of units is because of the high wholesale price. So when the wholesale price decrease, what will happen? When the wholesale price decrease, the buyer will have incentive to increase the order quantity. And the supplier profit, the supplier profit might decrease if it's unable to sell more profit. But if they can sell more, when they decrease the wholesale price, but they can sell more, then the supplier profit might increase, right? So when the wholesale price decrease, the buyer will buy more. Okay, the buyer will buy more, but since they decrease the price, the supplier might decrease their profit. If the buyer don't choose this supplier, like when the buyer don't increase a lot, if they only increase a little, then the supplier profit might decrease. That's why they create another supply contract that called the revenue sharing contract. And here the supplier will give discount on the wholesale price, but in returns the buyer has to share its revenue with the supplier. And here the buyer have to transfer a portion of the revenue from each unit sold to the end user, share it with supplier. So for example, I say if I sell 1 unit, I will share with them $2, for example, or 10%. So that is the revenue sharing contracts. So the buyer order quantity increase, they can reduce the out of stocks and might increase out of stock and might increase the profit. and supplier also make sure that the buyer share revenue with them, so they just offer the discount in the wholesale price. And we go back with the example. So all information are the same. The difference is the wholesale price decrease from $80 to $60, with condition that the retailer have to share 15% of the revenue. So we try to calculate the profit of retailer and manufacturer and see how it change after they sign the revenue sharing contracts. So here we can calculate the retailer marginal profit is equal to the selling price minus the wholesale price, and we have 65. And the manufacturer marginal profit is equal to the wholesale price minus the cost, so we have 25. So compared to the last example, we see the retailer marginal profit increase and the manufacturer marginal profit decrease. However, they have 50% of the revenue. And we can see the retailer's marginal loss is equal to the price, wholesale price, that is 60, minus the salvage, and salvage value when they cannot sell the product, that is 40. Okay, so we will calculate the profit of retailer and manufacturer. So here we also have the same table as the buyback contract, and we calculate the profit of retailer. So also the same, we use the if function. If the order quantity is less than the real demand, the profit will equal to the order quantity multiplied by the price, right? Okay, let me write it down first so that it will be easier for you guys to catch up. So the case of retailer, so if order quantity is less than the demand, okay, order quantity is less than the demand, what is the profit of retailer? The profit of retailer will equal to the order quantity multiplied by the selling price, that is $125 selling price, that is the revenue. Okay, and they have to share 15% the revenue with the manufacturers, so they only have 85% left. That's why I multiply by 95%. And they have to minus the cost. They buy Q, multiply the cost is 60. So here is the profit of retailer in the case that the order quantity is less than the real demand. How about if the order quantity is larger than the demand? So the revenue they get is equal to, they can sell the demand D, right? The total quantity they sell is D, multiplied by also 127 multiplied by 0.85 minus the cost is Q multiplied by, because they buy Q, so multiply by Q, 60 multiplied by Q and minus the marginal loss. So marginal loss is equal to the Q minus D and multiply by how much they buy 60 but they sell only 20, so it's 40. Okay, okay, here is it should be the demand. So here is the profit we can earn. Here is the profit we can earn for selling 800, and here is the loss for buying the extra products. So with this function we can combine it in if function in the Excel like this. Okay, here if the order quantity is less than the demand, the revenue will equal to the order quantity multiplied by the selling price multiplied by the percentage of sharing revenue minus the order quantity multiplied by the wholesale price. This is the revenue and this is the cost. Okay, and in case that the order quantity is larger than the demand, we have is equal to the real demand multiplied by the price, the selling price multiplied by the percentage of revenue sharing and minus the cost of buying the cost of buying the demand quantity and minus the salvage, the loss. 40 here is the marginal loss. Okay, so I think it's quite clear for you guys already. So for the next example I will just go faster. And remember here how we can calculate the retailer profit here, that is equal to the profit of this. Is will equal to this one multiplied by the probability here 11 plus this one multiplied by 11%. So here let me write, for example, for 14. Okay, so for 14,000 the profit of retailer will equal to 130 multiplied by 11% plus 02.5 11% plus 475 multiplied by 28%. So we use those probability, so we can get this, the retailer average profit. And here we can see the optimal order quantity of the retailer is 14,000, and they can gain profit. The highest profit is for more than $500,000 when the retailer order 14,000, what is the profit of the manufacturer? So here, how we can calculate the manufacturer profit? So I also give out two different case, Q less than D and Q larger than D. If you write down like this, it will be easier for you to catch up and also easier for you to understand. So when you do it in the test, for example, you also should write it down like that. So when the order quantity is larger, this one is become the production quantity already for manufacturer. We assume that production quantity is equal to the order quantity of retailer. So when the quantity is less than the demand, what is the profit of manufacturer? It will equal to the production quantity multiplied by the order quantity multiplied by the marginal profit, that is 60 minus 35, right? So we have 25. So this is the profit of selling those products, those quantity. However, they still have the revenue sharing from the retailer, that is equal to the quantity multiplied by 125 here, this one. This one, and it's multiplied by 0.15. This is the sharing from the retailer and minus the fixed cost. Okay, in case that the order quantity is larger than the demand, then revenue of manufacturer will equal to Q multiplied by 25, the profit of selling those quantity multiplied by also the revenue, right? That is the revenue from the retailer, that is D multiplied by 25 multiplied by 0.15 and minus the fixed cost. Okay, so here is for manufacturer and here is for retailer. So after you calculate, we will have here the manufacturer profit, and we can see at the order quantity 14,000, the manufacturer profit is equal to this number. So go back to here. We can see if the buyer and the seller sign the revenue sharing contract, they can earn, this is the optimal quantity, and they can earn the profit of retailer is $540,325, and the manufacturer profit is equal to 481,375. So compared to when they don't do revenue sharing, this is 470, right? Sorry. When they don't do is 477,700, and here is 440. So we can see if they do revenue sharing, they sign the revenue sharing contracts, the profit of both retailer and manufacturer increase. Okay, and the supply chain total profit is equal to this 985,700. So we have conclusion that when they reduce the wholesale price and side the revenue sharing will lead to increased profit for both parties. So it will be good. However, revenue sharing contracts also have some limitation. That is, since the buyer have to share the revenue with the supplier, right? So the supplier has to monitor the buyer revenue, because maybe their revenue is 100,000, but they say maybe our revenue is only 10,000, so they can reduce the sharing with their suppliers. So the supplier has to monitor it, and it means the administrative cost will increase. And another limitation is the information technology is not good enough. So building trust between the supplier and the buyer is not only important but also very difficult to achieve. And another main point of the limitation is the retailer will have incentive to push the competing products with higher profit margin. It means they will sell the competing products at higher price so they can get higher profit margins, because under the revenue sharing contracts the retailer profit margin will reduce because they have to share the revenue with the supplier. Okay, so that we have to consider the situation when we should consider the revenue sharing contracts, although it has advantage. Another type of supply contract is quantity flexibility contract. And in this contract, the supplier provides full refund for unsold products as long as the number of returns less than or equal to a certain quantity. So it's a bit similar to buyback contracts, but for buyback contracts it's partial refund for all unsold product, but for quantity flexibility is full refund but only for limited unsold products. So here the same example, the retailer will sell the unsold product to manufacturer at the price $80, same price at the wholesale price, but with condition that the number of return will less than or equal to a certain quantity, maybe like 20 or 30. Okay, and another type of supply contract is sales rebate contracts. Here they provide a direct incentive to retailer to increase sales by means of rebate paid by supplier for any item sold above a certain quantity. So here is the table that summarizes all the four contracts I introduced you earlier. So here the buyback contract is partial refund for all unsold products. For revenue sharing, the buyers share revenue with supplier in return for discount the wholesale price. For quantity flexibility is full refund for a limited number of unsold products, and for sale rebate is incentive for meeting target sales. So for example, that their target sale is 10,000 units. So if the retailer order, like they can sell up per more than 10,000 units, they will give discount for those items sold above this target. Okay. So the question is, what is the most profit both the supplier and the buyer can hope to achieve? Because earlier we can see that the revenue sharing contract and the buyback contract can increase both supplier and the buyer profit, right? So what is the most profit they want to achieve, they hope to achieve? And what if an unbiased decision maker is allowed to identify the best strategy for entire supply? So we have a supplier and a buyer, and we consider it as the same organization and try to maximize the total supply profit, not only supplier or buyer, but for the whole supply profit. So let's see. We also go back with the swimming suit example. So we only consider the whole supply marginal profit and loss. We don't consider each retailer or manufacturer, but the whole supply chain. So supply chain marginal profit is equal to the selling price is, so we only consider from here to here. We just ignore the process between this one. So we have the selling price is 125 and minus the cost is 35. So the supply chain marginal profit is $90. And the supply chain marginal loss is for unsold product that they sell, the salvage value is only $20, but the cost is 35, so they lose $15. So we can see here the supply chain marginal profit is much larger than the supply chain marginal loss. So the supply will produce more than average demand. And let's see this. Here is the whole supply. Supply chain. So we can see, okay, we also have two different situations. Q less than demand. Then the profit of the whole supply chain will equal to the profit that is equal to the quantity multiplied by the marginal profit, that is 90, and minus the fixed cost. In the case Q is larger than D, we can put equal, it's okay. is equal to the profit of supply chain will equal to the quantity they can sell, that is D, multiplied by their marginal profit minus the fixed cost and minus the loss. The loss will equal to the Q minus D multiplied by their marginal loss, that is 15. So we combine them in if function in Excel file. Okay, this one please do it by yourself, and we can see that the maximum profit of supply chain is when the order are 16,000. When we run the order quantity from 5,000 to 16,000, and they can earn more than $1 million. However, when we try to global optimization, we have difficulty, that is the firms have to surrender the decision making power to an unbiased decision maker. So that one is not easy. And when we use the global optimization, we only can determine the whole supply chain profit, but it doesn't provide a mechanism to allocate the supply profit between the partners. But the supply contracts help the firms achieve the global optimization without the need of an unbiased decision maker, by allowing the buyers and suppliers to share the risks and the potential benefits. And also the supply contract also help to allocate the profit among supply chain members. So supply chain contract have improved the disadvantage and difficulty in global optimization. So if we carefully design the supply contract to achieve the exact same profit as globalization, that's why if we can use supply contract effectively, we can maximize the profit of the whole supply chain, and also can increase the profit of each supply chain members. It's so effective and so important. So please remember it for me. And in the next lessons, we will continue the next part. So I hope today you already learned well about the supply contracts for strategic components. Thank you.